79 AD. And that is Mount Vesuvius. Today is the day. Boom, like boom, boom.
Quid lucertis muller insana, quae inturium set nitam vium.
What?
He's not listening. Nobody is. So this place is actually a really incredible place to live. Like, they have running water, hot food on every corner, public baths, theaters, 20,000 people living here, and it is genuinely one of the most advanced cities in the world right now. And in a matter of one day, this whole place is turned to ash. Okay, so the Romans are absolutely living. Like, this bathhouse has a cold room, a warm room, a hot room. It is essentially a spa. Ooh, okay, that is hot. That is really hot. Okay, I'm in. I'm fine. This is fine. So this is where you can get ancient fast food. They have wine, stews, olives. You just rock up and eat.
Fresh from the potto.
This is called mulsum. It's like warm wine mixed with honey, which sounds weird, but now I understand why everyone in ancient Rome is drinking this at 9 in the morning. Here's the thing that absolutely gets me. These people had no idea that thing was a volcano. Like, none. They thought it was just a giant hill. That mountain hadn't erupted in over 1,000 years, so to everyone standing here right now, it was just scenery. But they're about to find out they're very wrong. Oh my. So what you're seeing right now is called a Planian eruption. It is shooting ash and rock 20 miles into the sky. The ash is the thing. It's going to bury everything.
Good morning, rise and freedom.
That's why archaeologists find it so perfectly preserved.
I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. We're glad and thankful to have you here. We have been celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States. Wake Up America. Canada really thought it could handle Donald Trump with hockey slogans and hurt feelings. God bless them. I say that with love. I like Canada. Canada's cool. Much better than Iran these days. Beautiful country, decent people, strong flag, elite maple syrup propaganda, right? But watching Canada respond to Trump like this whole thing is a student council conflict has been incredible. Elbows up. They're saying, have you guys heard this? The elbows up. This is, you're in a hockey game. They're going to be doing a little fighting. Well, we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States. We've never forgotten that the British have burned the White House in 1812. No, we've never let them live it down. Stephanie's been killing it with the merch. If you guys have not been paying attention to forlibertyshop.com, you're missing out on a really fun part of the Liberty movement. Stephanie's just out there absolutely blowing it away with beautiful patriotic merch. They're wearing it on military bases around the world. Check out our 250 years strong, the United States of America, born free, born American, proud to be an American. I know some people are not. But the thing about MAGA that I like so much is that they're proud to be Americans. And I want to be on the team of people who are for the United States, pro-America. So today we're going to talk a little bit about America and how MAGA sees itself, how MAGA sees its role in the greater picture. I mean, they're going to be talking about MAGA. It's going to be in the history books. They've written themselves into the history books. And what I want to ask libertarians today, and what I want to ask anybody who sees what the MAGA movement is and wonders, I want to believe, like, aspirationally, that's the direction I want to be. Maybe it's not every issue I believe in, but yeah, generally, I think that a pro-America party, that's the one that I want to be part of. The Democrats hate this country. They demonstrate it, and we're going to talk about why. We're going to go through the Democrat grift industrial complex about 8:30 a.m. Central today. But we got Camellia. It's Thursday. You guys need to be excited because when Camellia comes on, it's so good. This show is so damn good. Canada is a really good way to sort of look at the United States because it's close to us, right? Not China or Iran to compare us, right? Not a foreign adversary everybody expects to be hostile. Canada, the nice neighbor, or at least used to be nice, the polite country, the place Americans go to feel slightly more threatened by geese. And suddenly even that relationship is now on the table because of MAGA. Tariffs, alliances, defense, energy, trade, burden sharing, who pays for what? Spoiler alert, it's us. Who gets access to what? Who's been coasting? Who has been subsidizing whom? All of it. So while Canadian politicians and commentators are clutching their pearls and throwing elbows at the hockey game, MAGA sees something else entirely. MAGA hears panic around the world. I hear much squawking from these Canadian geese. And listen, let me tell you, I invited the guy who, I'll openly say, we wrote this around a piece from a guy from the Wall Street Journal from Canada was saying, where he was explaining a MAGA's guide to, like, an ally's guide to Donald Trump, to explain Donald Trump, to help people understand, people who like the United States and want us to succeed, an ally. How does Donald Trump operate? So he explained it from the Canadian perspective. We're going to have him on the show. He actually responded, but not in time. So we'll probably have him on maybe next week. So that'll be a really interesting conversation. But here's what I saw in this, an opportunity to explain to people who are MAGA curious. Maybe they disagree with libertarians and what they've become in the United States, which is quite pitiful. A strange kind of Israeli derangement syndrome has overtaken them. Everything is Rothbard and war and anarchy, and nothing is minarchy or Ayn Rand or Robert Heinlein. If you know what we're talking about, then you're in the club, if those names sound familiar. So MAGA, they hear a country realizing the old arrangement may not be as permanent as everyone pretended. MAGA hears the sound of someone discovering that the free ride has a billing department now. And if that sounds harsh, welcome to foreign policy. It's not a wedding vow. It's not a land acknowledgement. It's not a group therapy exercise with nice snacks, ladies. It is power, interest, money, access, pressure, and the occasional public humiliation for flavor. Also, this morning, guys, Philadelphia is doing what blue cities do best, which is finding new ways to reach into your pocket and then act offended that you noticed. Mayor Cherelle Parker wants to jack up the rideshare tax and sell it like some kind of selfless act of municipal compassion. The story they always tell is hilarious. Don't worry, the company will probably eat the cost. Excuse me. No. Yes. And my grocery store is taking a personal loss on my steak out of respect for my weekly budget. No, you pay it. The rider pays it. The guy trying to get to work pays it. The single mom going across town pays it. The person trying to get to the airport without taking out a second mortgage pays it. City Hall washes its hands, looks skyward, oh, silly man, and says, wow, crazy how that happened. Later on, Camellia Peterson will join us, thank God, because the wellness industry has officially left Earth's atmosphere. There are people out there taking so many supplements. It looks like they're preparing for a nuclear winter inside an Equinox locker room. Pills, powders, drops, gummies. I need the Scarface. Push it to the limit, and money's just like rolling down the aisles. All right, gummies, tinctures, the limit. No regret, no strangers. This is why you got a computer, Austin. We can pull this stuff up. Here we go. We look it up. There we go. So you decided to get into selling supplements. What kind of business are you in? And they are selling like hotcakes, man. All these pills, powders, things with names like, sound like a villain in a Marvel TV spinoff. Everybody's optimizing, everybody's biohacking, everybody has an affiliate link. Half of these people don't have a health routine, they got a sponsorship stack. Sometimes you just have to ask whether you're building discipline or just, creating a very expensive ritual that to avoid admitting you should probably sleep more and put your phone down. And we're going to close the show with a visit to the left-wing Grift Museum. Oh, the world is yours. Why do the Scarface shirts always look like such crap when you see people wearing in public? Nobody can ever do, for some reason, I need to do a Scarface shirt. Just because every time I see one, it's always on some 450-pound guy. But don't mess with that guy, because the guys that wear the Scarface shirts, if you're willing to wear that in public, the Scarface shirt, You obviously are just waiting for somebody to taunt you so you can kill them. So anyways, so what is one of the most reliable growth industries in the United States? Well, that's the left-wing grift. It's always getting new exhibits. It's always funded by people who told you they were heal the world, make it a better place, right? Until the indictment dropped. It's the same beautiful pattern over and over. It's a noble cause, a lot of moral posturing, a big pile of money, zero scrutiny. Then 6 months later, somebody's standing in front of a microphone saying, this is not who we are, while federal prosecutors wheel in the receipts. So yes, we have a very full show this morning. Canada is having an identity crisis over MAGA. Philadelphia trying to tax human movement. The wellness world turning into QVC for neurotic people. And the left-wing grift machine doing what it always does when people confuse virtue signals for internal controls. Also, we have bonus content today, so unlock that. Unlock it. Lovingly unlock it. Remove the bow from the breasts. I mean the box. The box. Remove the bow from the box. At $100 today, you can slip into something more comfortable. You can, Austin, what's wrong with you? For $100 today, you can unlock our mini documentary celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States with a biopic, a little 5-minute biopic. It's way more fun to watch than commercials, although our commercials are cute and fun. And the whole show is amazing. Everything we do is perfect. No, but notice that if you want to watch commercials, you can just sit there. Don't do anything. Don't donate to the show. Don't support us financially. Don't take any step forward to try and build the For Liberty Network, because why would you do something like that? We suck, obviously. It's terrible. We went from 1 show to 5 shows, a functioning, thriving, liberty-centric, right-wing American libertarian movement. That's the For Liberty Network. So drop some Rumble rants or gift some subs, or head to forlibertyshop.com. Make a purchase from our 250th anniversary collection, and you will unlock the story of Paul Revere today in a nice little Lego style. So when you drop Rumble rants or when you shop at the shop during the live show, it goes to unlock the bonus content. $100 buys you a little mini documentary about Paul Revere, and then 150, and we all of a sudden things get weird, and we do a whole game show thing, and we're playing mini games against each other for real prizes. It gets crazy. So you do that if you want. It's up to you. Otherwise, enjoy the free content. February 22nd, 2026, Milan, overtime. The score is locked at 1-1. The building has that strange, thin, electric feel that only exists in games where one mistake turns into history. The ice is carved up and shining. Every stop throws a little spray into the air. Sticks are tapping the boards. Players are half crouched, half gliding, looking less like men than springs wound so tight they might snap through their own skates. On one bench, Canada, the country that treats hockey like religion, bloodline, property right, national poetry, and sometimes a second constitution. On the other, the United States, staring back like a guy who just walked into somebody else's house, sat down in their chair, put his boots up on the coffee table. You could feel the Canadian expectation hanging over the rink. Not arrogance exactly, something deeper. Inheritance. The quiet belief that when the game gets big enough, when the spotlight's hot enough, when the gold medal is sitting there on the ice like a crown, hockey eventually finds its way home to Canada. Then the play turns. The puck moves. A gap opens for half a breath, maybe less. And Jack Hughes rips the whole thing apart. Game over. United States 2, Canada 1. Oh, Canada? What happened? We got the gold. Reuters called it heartbreak for Canada. It was more than that. It was America walking into the most Canadian space on earth, taking one thing Canada never imagined renting out. And just to twist the knife, the United States women had done it too 3 days earlier. They came from behind to beat Canada 2-1 overtime for gold. Same country, same sport, same sound at the end. Oh, that awful little silence. Oh.
No, God.
Oh. No, those were the guys. Those were the Canadians who were cheating over on the curling. Did you guys see the cheaters? The Canadians who were pushing the curling. Canada. Entitlement, inheritance, that awful little silence when a building full of people realizes the script they thought was God-given has been taken out of their hands. Reuters said revenge tasted sweeter than maple syrup. For 1 week in February, America did not just beat Canada at hockey. America beat Canada at the thing Canada uses to explain itself to itself. That is the feeling you have to grab before you can explain MAGA to a libertarian. Because the MAGA instinct starts right there with the rejection of inherited entitlement, with the refusal to keep pretending that because something has long been treated as yours, it still is. Hockey, trade terms, security guarantees, market access, deference, the right to coast on old arrangements, and then act insulted when somebody checks you into the glass. Brian Lee Crowley's article, he'll be joining us next week, makes this case in geopolitical terms. Trump's style is about rebalancing costs, breaking complacency, and forcing allies to prove they are bringing something real to the table. From the Allied view, Trump looks like a wrecking ball with a flag pin. From the MAGA view, he looks like the first guy in a long time willing to treat the alliance system like a scoreboard instead of a sentiment. A libertarian can still hate the methods, the tariffs, the threats, the bulk of the executive force, and yet understand the emotional logic. America got tired of playing the generous host while other countries acted like a permanent VIP. Crowley calls it a drive to rebalance the costs and benefits of the Western alliance. MAGA would put it a lot more bluntly. If you want the trophy, earn it. If you want the protection, pay for it. And if you want to boo us, do not expect us to keep leaving the door unlocked. Do you get me? Am I making sense? If so, click the like button. Now let's talk about how fast this thing mutated, because nothing says well thought out public policy like a mayor grabbing a number out of the air and hitting multiply by 5. On March 12th, Cherelle Parker rolls out a 20-cent per ride tax. Very gentle, very modest, very who could possibly object to 2 dimes for the children. Then by March 23rd, it's a full dollar ride. Not 30 cents, not 40, $1. Now that's not policy evolution. That's a City Hall growth spurt. That's a toddler who took a sip of Red Bull and started writing tax code with a crayon. Now, Axios reported the jump from 20 cents to $1. City officials said the new version could raise $24 million in fiscal 2027 and $48 million a year after that. And City Council noticed the same thing any normal person would notice, which is, hold on, were you lying the first time or are you panicking now? So Fox 29 News, local news, reported Council President Kenyatta Johnson asked, did they not know there was a $48 million deficit during the first presentation to the administration? So that's the polite government version of saying, so we're just going to make this up as we go. And Councilmember Jeffrey Young Jr. twisted the knife a little further. He pointed out that the extra $48 million would be about 1% of the school district's total budget, which is a fancy way of saying Philly's trying to fill a swimming pool with a shot glass and a press conference. And that gets to the first real dirt in this. So this is not just a tax fight, it's a competence fight. If the number can go from 20 cents to $1 in 11 days, then the sell is not, we care so deeply about the children. The sell is, we found an easy thing to tax, and we're hoping you're too busy to notice. Now, this is the part that I really love about modern city government. They always act like the math is sacred until you look at it. and then it has the structural integrity of a Waffle House napkin in a thunderstorm. Now, for the part where they try to hand you the bologna sandwich and get offended that you smelled it first, Parker's public line, as reported by Axios, is that Uber and Lyft can decide whether to pass the costs on to riders. That's an amazing thing to say, because that's like a governor saying, casinos can decide whether the slot machine should pay out. Yes, they can decide, and I can decide to staple bacon to my chest and wrestle a German Shepherd. The question is not whether it is physically possible. The question is whether anyone with a functioning brain thinks that's going to happen. Although that is a funny image. The available evidence says this cost does not just float around corporate limbo like an angelic little accounting entry. Chicago research from 2025 found rideshare taxes were often passed through to customers at high rates. Something exceeding the tax itself. And Philly has its own recent memory of this. The city's soda tax was found by researchers to be fully passed through to consumers on average, with one study finding pass through over 100%. So when City Hall says, don't worry, the company might eat it, what they're really asking you to believe is that Philadelphia has discovered a new law of economics where corporations suddenly become charitable only when Democrats hold a podium. That would be sweet. Also insane. And if you want the cleanest possible way to say this, they call this a tax on Uber. It's maybe you could call it a tax on getting home. That's the whole thing. You don't need a whiteboard. You don't need a UCLA economist with 3 books and a bow tie. You just need a phone, a late shift, a bad weather night, and a price jump on a screen. Suddenly, the mayor's theory of corporate generosity starts to look like a vegan at a Texas barbecue. Beautiful in theory, dead on arrival. Philly. Do you go to Philly or do you avoid it? So this is a pattern. It's the same instinct keeps popping up all over blue politics. In Maryland, Governor Moore's 2026 budget included a 15% sports wagering tax, a table game tax hike from 20 to 25, cannabis increased from 9 to 15. Now, Moore also tried to soften the blow with tax cut language, and we're fixing what's broken in the system. Right. It's always adorable when they say that, right? That phrase is kind of the political equivalent of, come here, don't move. This won't hurt a bit. Bam! It's what people say right before they reach for your wallet with a government letterhead on it. In Washington state, Democrats pushed through what their own side called the Sessions signature policy, which is a tax on household income above $1 million. The official House Democrat side said it got final legislative approval and was sent to the governor, who will sign it. Now, the names there, people like Bob Ferguson, Jamie Petersen, June Robinson, Lori Jenkins, different state, same temperament. They never just say, we want more money. They pull out a villain, wrap the tax in moral perfume, and then stare at you like you're the weirdo for not applauding. It's a political Axe body spray is what this is, but just more, still a tax. Just stinkier. And then there's that old communist Bernie Sanders who went to Los Angeles to cheer on a California billionaire's tax. According to the Associated Press, even as Gavin Newsom moved against it because he feared an exodus of wealth, Kathy Hochul's been screaming, drive to Florida. Please, patriotic millionaires, come back and fund our lavish social welfare programs. Notice how even inside their own party, they cannot agree on when the tax ferry becomes a moving truck. Look out! Get out of the way! Everybody run! Bernie is out there selling the fantasy that you can soak capital forever and it will just sit there smiling like a teddy bear at a drum circle. Newsom, to his credit, seems to have looked around California and thought, maybe we should not turn leaving into a tax strategy. So why is this a good story? Because, Moore can hide behind sin taxes. Washington can hide behind millionaires. Bernie can hide behind the fact that Bernie basically lives in a permanent campus protest in his own head. Parker cannot hide. Parker is taxing movement. Parker is taxing the thing people use when the train doesn't come, the bus feels sketchy, the shift ran late. You don't want to get stabbed in the neck. The kid needs a ride, or the streetlight looks like it lost hope in 1997. So that's why this story hits different, because this is daily life for people. Now, let's talk about the other little shell game inside this big shell game. This is being marketed like a pure, noble, cleanest soap commercial rescue mission for schools. But local reporting said the rideshare tax money is also tied to free SEPTA passes for eligible school employees and a 3-year pilot program to help some residents deal with parking ticket and license suspension issues through the Philadelphia Parking Authority. So no, this is not just a buy a ride, save a classroom. This is more like buy a ride, fund a city hall variety pack, which, to be fair, is the most Philadelphia sentence ever written. And meanwhile, the school district's own numbers make this clear. This tax does not solve the core problem. The district said it faces a $300 million structural deficit, and it's driven in part by the loss of federal COVID relief money. And it laid out plans that include eliminating about 220 building substitute positions and reassigning about 340 school-based positions. So even if Parker gets her tax, The city is still using a new fee on riders to patch a fraction of a much deeper budget wound. It's like trying to fix a sinkhole with a coaster. Maybe symbolically satisfying, not exactly a civil engineering triumph. And here's a detail. Please forgive me. A little phlegmy today. Here's a detail people should not miss in this story. Philly has a gross revenue levy, 1.4%, on transportation network companies. So they're already taxing, with 2/3 of that money already going to the school district. That is in the Philly Parking Authority's Financial Reporting Act under Act 164. So that's not the city discovering a brand new funding stream. Yes, we looked it up. This is City Hall looking at an already taxed service and saying, what if we shake it upside down again and see if lunch money falls out? At this point, the rideshare app is basically a municipal ATM that also sometimes gets you to the airport. So when you put the whole file together, the story is beautifully ugly. A real man, Justin Anderson, suffered a medical emergency in an Uber, and a real driver, Terrace Zveer, helped save his life after pulling over and starting CPR. That is a snapshot of what rideshare actually is in a big city. It's not a luxury toy for hedge fund brothers going to brunch. It is infrastructure. People rent one ride at a time. Then along comes Cherelle Parker with a 20-cent tax that becomes a $1 tax in 11 days, while telling the public with a straight face that maybe the companies will just decide to absorb it. Now, that's not a governance. That's a bedtime story read by an auditor. And if you want a character note on Parker herself, here's one that fits without overreaching. The Philadelphia Inquirer reported last month that her campaign raised nearly $1.7 million last year, even though she doesn't face re-election until 2027. Same paper reported during the 2025 District Council 33 strike that while claims she gave herself a 9% raise were false, she did give big raises to aides. None of that proves corruption. It does tell you something about somebody's style. This is a mayor who understands power, money, and message, and she's not shy about any of the three, which is exactly why this tax story matters. It's not an accident. This is an instinct. So they say they're taxing the company. They said that with soda. They're saying it now with rideshare. They always say it with the same little halo over their head. And somehow, some way, the bill keeps finding the person just trying to get to work, get to the doctor, get to the airport, get home safe, or just get through the week without City Hall climbing into the passenger seat and picking their pocket. So it's not that the Democrats like taxes. Everybody knows that. The point is they keep lying about who pays them. And in Philadelphia, Cherelle Parker has given you the perfect case study with just enough high-minded rhetoric to make the shakedown sound like homework help. Now, let's get into the A2. It's time to talk about MAGA. Let's talk about making America great again. St. Selma says that her generation preferred high karate. High karate. I might be a karate sensei, a literal high karate sensei, but at least I'm in on the joke. Karate, move your body. Yes, I got inspired by Karate Kid. So what? Who cares? So I decided to engage in martial arts mastery, and I spent the last 20 years of my life learning some kind of arcane Japanese rituals, and they had to have the little dancers shaking their butts in the back. Well, anyway, support the Wake Up America show. Unlock the bonus content. Before we get to the next topic, just want to say thank you to everyone who has donated so far. We've raised $6 towards the total. It's a little tip jar. It's sitting there and it's asking you, it's pleading with you, it's begging you to drop $1 or $2. And if we hit 100, you'll unlock today's mini documentary. Karate, move your body all the time.
Body. I train in my car.
No, you don't.
I'm a ninja.
Oh my God, terrible. Terrible. So karate, move your body. Head on over to forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. Don't miss out on what's going on in the shop, guys. It's a lot of fun. Stephanie and Brad have built a beautiful 250 years collection. Go to forlibertyshop.com. Check out that gorgeous Boston Tea Party mug. So beautiful. ForLibertyShop.com. Get yourself a couple of mugs. Don't forget, we've got the little spin to win. You can get a discount if you do the spin to win that pops up. The 250th anniversary double-sided American flag, the Betsy Ross style. Party like it's 1776, whiskey glasses, and my favorite, the 250th anniversary embroidered American flag polo shirt. It's awesome. I love mine. Look at that. I got the white one too. It's absolutely beautiful. Actually, no, wait. I got the black one. No, I want the white one. That one is nice too. Oh, yeah. It'll make you turn black. No.
No, God. No, God, please,
Austin.
no.
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks. Join us in Boston, May 1st and 2nd. Go to forlibertyshop.com. Justin, Austin, and Stephanie and friends all together hanging out where Paul Revere warned that who was coming? The regulars were coming. A silversmith, a humble man, good man, Paul Revere. Our mini documentary unlocks at $100 today. So join us in Boston. Get the Boston Tea Party mug. Drop those Rumble rants. Support the For Liberty Network. We're doing something very special over here. Thanks to people like St. Selma, who says, why is it when the government asks for more tax money from us, that's okay, but not okay for us to tell them to reel back their spending instead? Bless you, sister. My sister from another mister. It's good stuff. Thank you for your financial support, and we are truly grateful. At a minimum, please click the like button or share in your feeds. March 9th, 2025, Parliament Hill, Ottawa, Canada. The air is cold enough to bite, the kind of cold that turns every breath into smoke and makes a crowd look like it is boiling from the inside. Red and white flags snap in the wind. Hands are stuffed into gloves. Shoulders are hunched against the weather. And then the chant starts moving through the crowd in short, hard bursts. Elbows up, elbows up, elbows up, elbows up. Not diplomatic language, not the language of central bankers or trade lawyers. Hockey language, street language. The language of a guy skating into the corner, knowing a hit is coming and deciding he's not going in soft. Reuters reported that elbows up became a broad Canadian rallying cry after Donald Trump's tariffs and his talk about Canada as the 51st state, which admittedly was hilarious and I fully supported. And it showed up on clothing. The Canadians were rallies. They're so patriotic, it's suddenly a bit nationalistic. Wow. Thought you hated that kind of thing. And they were rallying, and over 1,000 people turned out at one Ottawa rally in March. And the phrase carried the meaning of being ready to fight back. The phrase comes straight out of hockey. Elbows up means protect yourself, clear space, do not get pushed off the puck. Do not let the other guy dictate the contact. It carries the ghost of Gordie Howe, Mr. Hockey, who was famous for playing with a smile and, when necessary, with a very educational elbow. Bam! In 2025, Canadians turned that old hockey signal into a national mood. It was on signs. It was on shirts. Mike Myers was mouthing it on TV. Justin Trudeau echoed the spirit in his farewell. He's got Katy Perry singing, you're gonna hear me roar. So what it meant was, in plain English, we're done being polite about this. And that's the scene that a libertarian in the United States has to understand before understanding MAGA. Because from the Allied point of view, this looked like self-defense, a friendly country getting threatened, mocked, tariffed, and treated like a piece of real estate with a maple leaf paint job. From the MAGA point of view, though, it looked different. It looked like an ally that had gotten very used to American protection, American market access, and American patience, suddenly acting shocked that the bill collector had started banging on the door. Brian Lee Crowley's article takes that view and drives it straight through the windshield. Trump's offensive style is not a temper tantrum in this telling. It is a tool for forcing allies to stop coasting on old arrangements and start paying, producing, defending, and dealing. Elbows up was a reveal. It showed how the allies saw Trump. Not as a slight course correction, not as a rude negotiator, but as a threat serious enough to turn a hockey elbow into a foreign policy identity. Reuters reported that the nationalist backlash helped Mark Carney and the liberals who benefited from an anti-Trump wave in Canadian politics. And this is where the MAGA guide for the MAGA-curious libertarian begins, with one crowd shouting elbows up like it's fight night, and another crowd south of the border saying, finally, maybe now you understand that the game was never actually free. So the cleanest way to explain MAGA to libertarians is this. Trump treats foreign policy like a hard bargaining real estate deal, not a permanent group therapy session for allied elites. Crowley quotes Trump, sometimes it pays to be a little wild, line from The Art of the Deal, and argues the method is to provoke partners, get them emotional, and force them to negotiate off balance. So on March 16th, 2026, Trump publicly complained that some U.S. allies were not enthusiastic about helping reopen the Strait of Hormuz, saying, "The level of enthusiasm matters to me." The signal was obvious. He was not just asking what allies will do, he was watching how they would react under pressure. Now, this is where libertarians tend to split. The anti-state instinct sees a man who enjoys raw power. MAGA sees a man who understands that the post-war consensus only worked so long as America was willing to be shaken down with a smile. In the MAGA telling, the old bipartisan model was basically this. America pays most of the security cost. We tolerate trade imbalances and free riding. We swallow migration and organized crime spillovers into our country as part of this system. And then we have to get lectured by the people living under this umbrella. The point of Trump's style is to make that arrangement, which is not good for the United States, feel costly, embarrassing, and unsustainable. So this is diplomacy with the volume knob ripped off. These go to 11. This is Trump. That doesn't mean every threat is wise or every tariff is efficient. Crowley himself concedes Trump's tariff policy may be counterproductive, even while arguing it is aimed at an American economic renaissance. Now, this matters because it helps explain the MAGA libertarian friction. Libertarians look at the means and see distortion. MAGA looks at the ends and sees a system so rigged against American workers that distortion is already baked in. From that view, Trump is not breaking a healthy market order. He's using blunt force inside a corrupted one. Now, put some numbers under the mood. The MAGA argument about allied free riding is not invented out of thin air. NATO and Canadian defense figures show Canada was still around 1.3% of GDP on their defense in 2024 to 2025, below the old 2% NATO benchmark. And Reuters reported Canada was near the bottom of the alliance in defense burden sharing. NATO also said European allies and Canada together spent about $485 billion on defense, a big increase, but that doesn't erase the longer story of underinvestment. From the MAGA side, it looks simple. You don't get to hide under American hard power for generations. Build out your domestic model, and then act shocked when an American president starts sending invoices. That's why the Canadian case is so useful. Canada is not China. It's not Iran. It's not a hostile power. It's a friendly country that still embodies the MAGA complaint. Crowley's piece says Europe and Canada kept relying on American generosity long after the old justification had expired. And while his GDP figures should be treated as rhetorical rather than precise, the broader point still holds. The strategic environment changed, and too many allies were too slow to adapt. They're welfare queens. The MAGA position is that Trump is not tearing down the alliance for fun or because he's crazy. He's trying to force a repricing of it in our favor. And this is where libertarians should notice something important. MAGA is not purely nationalist in the cartoon sense. It is transactional. It does not necessarily want to conquer or withdraw. It wants deals that look less one-sided, and that matters. Crowley put it bluntly. He writes, Donald Trump's America is an isolationist. but wants to escape reliance on unwieldy alliances so it can act more freely with willing allies when possible. Now, a libertarian is going to look at the toolkit and say, I hate it, but the impulse should look familiar. More sovereign discretion, fewer open-ended obligations, less managerial internationalism. So let's talk about Mexico. Let's go south of the border for a moment. Forgive me, guys, I'm dry as a bone. The Mexico example is the most brutal part of Crowley's case because it shows what MAGA rewards, sticks and carrots. So his claim is that Mexico learned not to get distracted by Trump's showmanship, but Canada kept taking the bait. The clean facts support at least part of that. Reuters reported that the U.S. and Mexico agreed to begin talks on USMCA reforms in January 2026, while Canada's role was less clear. Reuters also reported on Mexican cooperation against cartels and on border-related enforcement concessions extracted under pressure. So that doesn't mean that Mexico became submissive. It means Mexico looked more transactional and less theatrical. And from a MAGA view, that's exactly the point. If the other side wants access to the United States, security from the United States, stability from the United States, and the other side needs to show up and be ready to pay in some form. Crowley goes further and says that Canada swallowed the Trump shtick and fell into the trap of being offended. Trump derangement syndrome, anyone? Sound familiar? Is any of this landing? They fell into the trap. Canada fell into the trap of being offended, but it lands because the underlying dynamic is visible. Canada's relationship with the United States is existential in a way that the reverse is not. Proximity still drives trade. You're nearby. Let's trade. Give me some tortillas and you can have some pesos or dollars. Dollars for tortillas. Dollars for tortas. No, not those kind of tortas.
No!
A tasty,
Please,
tasty
no,
torta.
No! No!
Intra-firm North American trade still binds the economies together. All the fantasies about substituting distant markets for the U.S., they're not going to change geography. The MAGA lesson to libertarians is not love tariffs. It's stop pretending leverage doesn't exist. Trump's entire method is built on the conviction that the U.S. has more of it than the foreign policy class was willing to admit. And there is the cultural heart of this. Libertarians, we often prioritize a clean process, a consistent principle, non-coercive exchange. MAGA starts one floor lower in the building. MAGA asks, who has been winning? Who has been paying? And why the people who did the paying were told to shut up for 30 years. That is why Mexico's pragmatism, Canada's outrage, and Europe's defense gap all land differently in MAGA's eyes. They're not just foreign policy data points. They're evidence in a case about whether the U.S. political class sold out its own base for status, cheap labor, cheap goods, and the approval of people who never really liked it anyway. Energy is where the MAGA worldview becomes easiest to understand, even for a skeptical libertarian like myself. Crowley argues that Canada could offer Trump a North American grand bargain built around energy dominance. Oh, could we ever? Arctic security, border enforcement, seriouser commitments on defense and organized crime. Strip away the rhetoric. This is the most concrete part of all of this. Reuters reported this week that Canada has discussed a partial Keystone XL revival with the Trump administration. Let it flow, let it flow, let it flow. The weather outside is frightful. Reuters reported this week that Canada has discussed this partial Keystone XL revival. Trans Mountain expansion has improved export flexibility, and Canadian officials are framing the country as a stable energy supplier during Middle East volatility. So Crowley's claim that the U.S. gets about 4 million barrels a day from Canada is very close to the broader Reuters reporting on the centrality of Canadian oil flows to the U.S. system. So this is what MAGA means by national strength, right? Not just flags and songs or God bless America or the Gulf of America. Barrels, pipelines, shipping lanes, reflexive suspicion of any elite ideology that treats energy abundance as embarrassing or optional. Oh no, drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill. So the core material point is real. Canada has enormous hydrocarbon value, and the U.S.-Canada energy relationship matters strategically in a world where the Strait of Hormuz can become a crisis point in days. So for MAGA, energy is not an externality to the grand strategy. It is the grand strategy. It is how you cheapen production, stabilize allies, crowd out adversaries, and give your country room to breathe. And this is where the MAGA libertarian conversation gets interesting instead of cartoonish. A libertarian can agree that energy abundance, border control, harder bargaining, and skepticism of multilateral free riding are legitimate objectives. The break comes over methods. MAGA is willing to use the state as a battering ram to get there. Libertarians generally are not. But if the goal is to explain MAGA rather than caricature it, then this is the key. MAGA believes we are already living in a world of industrial policy, strategic dependence, managed trade, border failures, and hard power. So the choice is not between state action and no state action. It's between bluntly using power for national advantage or letting other people use it against you while calling yourself principled. The best version of this, I would say Crowley's argument from this Wall Street Journal piece on the relationship between Canada and the United States. The best version of this argument is not Trump is always right. It's Trump is legible if you stop reading him like a Davos panelist and start reading him like a man trying to renegotiate the entire post-war settlement on behalf of people who think they got hosed by it. That is why these priorities, they matter so much. Top nation status against China, harder reciprocity from allies, and a domestic politics oriented toward the Americans who had felt sacrificed to the global order. Those three things explain far more of Trump than the standard "he likes chaos" or "he's crazy" any of that talk ever does. So it doesn't give Trump a blank check. Maybe Greenland is a cautionary example. Crowley writes that Trump, open maximalist, settled for less, got what he needed on security access, and then moved on. The record is messier. Reuters reported Trump did announce a framework deal giving the U.S. broader access for security purposes. Danish Greenland leaders, they kept emphasizing sovereignty, and the issue continued to shake Danish politics and all that NATO stuff. So the fact-free conclusion is that Trump's pressure often produces movement, but not necessarily clean resolution. But that, too, is part of the MAGA model. Maximum leverage, imperfect landings, and a willingness to leave everyone else angrier than they were before. So here is the MAGA guide for libertarians in one straight line. MAGA thinks the American state has been used for decades to protect everyone except the American core. It thinks allies got used to U.S. subsidies, elites got rich off cheap labor and open systems, and working and middle-class Americans were told to treat their losses as the price of civilization. It thinks Trump's rude style is a feature because the nicer style produced a worse deal. And it thinks national sovereignty, energy abundance, border security, and harder bargaining are not deviations from peace and prosperity, but preconditions for them. And I tend to agree. You can still object, and a libertarian often will, but at least now the logic is plain. This is not foreign policy nihilism. It is an America First theory of renegotiation, punishment, and repricing in a world that MAGA believes was already rigged. Have I made myself clear? Is that clear enough for you? Thanks so much for tuning in. I know you've got so many other options that you could be watching right now. People are streaming live 24 hours a day, and that's why I've franchised the For Liberty Network, and we now have 5 live shows on this network. Did you know that we went from one show, this show, the Wake Up America show, to now 5 live shows on our network? And we have so much more ready for you guys that's coming, waiting in the wings, that you'll be seeing. Cafecito Libre launched a couple weeks ago with Mylene Salabaria. We've had some technical challenges. She's a lawyer, not a streamer, but she'll get there. But Cafecito Libre comes Tuesdays and Thursdays alongside Culturama and Liberty Tonight. Brian Piotr has just been absolutely killing on Wednesday nights with his homeschooling segments. Make sure that you're checking out the other shows on the network, checking out their clips, and following them on social media as well. Daniela Pensac, let's give it a shout out for Brian Piotr. Let's give a shout out for Mylene Salabaria. They're out there fighting for liberty at the For Liberty Networks. If you haven't already, guys, signed up to be a Peterson's Patriot for $17.76 a month, you too can sponsor a failed presidential candidate. You can't roast me. I'll roast me. Thank you so much for all of you who already have. Looks like we're on our way to unlock the bonus content. If we raise $100 today in Rumble Rants or in purchases at forlibertyshop.com, then you will unlock the bonus content, which is a mini documentary on old Paul Revere. So at least you ran. Very true. I did join the very small club, along with me and Afro Man and Kanye West. I'm in a very small club. So head to forlibertyshop.com, guys. Don't wait. Don't be late. It's 2026 all year. Check out the 1776 250th anniversary collection. 250 years of American greatness, excellence. Excuse my French, but we piss excellence. We're America. The K-Cups are delicious. What is it with these libertarian girls, man? You guys anybody like hot libertarian girls? Because I do. I mean, a hot libertarian girl. Oh, there's only one. There's my sweet Steffi, smoking hot, sweetheart Steffi. She'll be with us tomorrow morning for Freedom Family Friday. You can tell which one Steffi designs. Look at that. Spread liberty like wildflowers. Aww, so cute. Freedom, baby. Let freedom ring. Let the white dove sing. It's Independence Day. I'm telling you guys, do not sleep on the shirts. The merch is incredible, phenomenal. Do you have a woman in your life? Oh, no? You're a libertarian? You don't? No! I think I voted for Afro Man, but then I got high. This bar necklace, We the People, could be worn by your lady or could be worn by you. I don't think this is kind of unisex. I guess it has a heart in it, so that'd be kind of gay, wouldn't it? You don't want a heart, really? Well, get it for your cutie. We've got all sorts of beautiful jewelry for your lady love. If you've got a sweetheart, redheaded libertarian lady in your life, for some reason, Stephanie was just infatuated with the Founding Fathers pajama pants. Do you guys, anybody? The Quality Leering Center shirt. You damn right. Look at George Washington looking fly with this Liberty Roots embroidered fleece pullover. Maybe this is the wrong season for that, but like, look at the gorgeous embroidered 1776 patriotic full zip hoodie. Don't you wish your girlfriend could steal your hoodie like that? She would steal. Look at that. This could be you. This could be you guys. But you're playing. Remember, if you make a purchase during the live show, it helps to unlock the bonus content. So head on over, grab a box of Founding Flavors coffee while you're at it. Support the United States of America, the For Liberty Network. Do a little shoppity shopping. All right, guys. So we haven't unlocked it yet. If we do unlock it during the break, then I go ahead and I start playing it for you. But for now, we're going to go to Camellia Peterson. Coming up. The wellness world has officially lost its mind. People taking 20, 30, 100 pill supplements a day. Hundreds, thousands of dollars spent. In some cases, it's a side hustle. So Camellia Peterson joins us next. We'll dissect the grift. Wake Up America show. ForLibertyNetwork.com.
Patriots, listen up. The sun's out, the shades are on, and the Gulf of America is wide open for business. Monticello. This summer, don't show up to the beach looking like a radical document in human history. Gear up with the Gulf of America. Do you really think he was sipping Starbucks? Towels, tumblers, shirts, hats, he was drinking something bold. Because nothing says freedom like cannonballing something brewed strong enough to fuel a revolution. Whether you're grilling burgers, that's catching the spirit behind founding flexing on social media, do it draped in stars, stripes, and pure American greatness. No soy froth. The Gulf of America isn't just a place, corporate slogan, it's a lifestyle. Hit forlibertyshop.com, inspired by the men who wrote freedom into existence, just handed you the keys to the coast. Every cup is a quiet protest. Beaches, BBQs, and bald against mediocrity, against tyranny, against bad coffee. Head over to forlibertyshop.com. So this morning, skip the globalist brew. Summer is coming something fast. Worthy of a free man's sunrise. Forlibertyshop.com. Founding flavors. Now brewing at forlibertyshop.com. This summer isn't about sunscreen and safe spaces. It's about liberty, laughs, and looking like a red, white, and righteous badass. Welcome to the Summer of Freedom collection. Beach towels bold enough to trigger a liberal arts professor. Tank tops louder than a 4th of July fireworks finale. And mugs that scream, "Don't tread on my caffeine." Whether you're storming the sandbar or just grilling like George Washington with a Bluetooth speaker, this is the gear that lets everyone know. You're not here to play woke. You're here to play cornhole with conviction. So crack open a cold one, fire up the freedom, and rock the merch that makes communists cry. The Summer of Freedom is here. In a city where businesses never sleep, the technology still crashes. When technology turns criminal, they send up the signal. He's not a myth, and he's definitely not your nephew who knows computers. He installs, he protects, he backs it up, he keeps your business online and out of trouble. Managed IT, security, cloud, support that actually answers the phone. Layer 8 tech. When your network breaks, he wakes. Call Drew before your tech needs a rescue signal.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today.
Welcome back. A new Wall Street Journal piece looks at the rise of extreme supplement stacks with influencers, biohackers, wellness personalities boasting about huge daily regimens of capsules, powders, and even injections. Ugh. The hell is wrong with you? The story cites one Florida esthetician taking more than 20 supplements a day and posting affiliate links, while Supco says its top 20% of users spend $479 a month. The CEO says he spends $1,114 a month on 28 supplements. The FDA says dietary supplements generally are not approved for safety and effectiveness before marketing, and it has separately warned about risks tied to injectable NAD and compounded injectable glutathione. Joining me now to talk about all this, is this how we're making America healthy again? Is this Maha? This is Camellia Peterson. She's looking very healthy for so early in the morning. Hi, CJ.
I could not pronounce, I don't know what that was that you said, gluta something or other, blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, people are putting unpronounceable things into their bodies and doing it by injection. And what is wrong with you?
Hey, it's free country. But when you hear people are spending hundreds or $1,000 a month on supplements, what is happening, Camellia? What are these people doing to themselves?
I mean, this is a story as old as time, right? I mean, we talk. You had something the other day, like where you talked about snake oil salesmen, right? So, I mean, like there's always been that human desire to find the answer to all of your problems, the fountain of youth, and the fountain of youth is a bottle of pills or a few needles these days.
Hey man, some of these people, they get good results, right? On the high end of things, when you see certain things, you're like, oh wow, they do look good. But genetics, maybe some people win the genetic lottery, honestly.
Oh, okay, but here's the thing. I think for perspective, what we really have to remember, because like it's true, like if you have scrolled social media and you have seen the claims and you have not ever been even slightly tempted, you're not real and you're probably not human.
No, I mean, for sure. Yeah, I like the ones that say hot women in your area. Been tempted.
But here's the thing: the people who are selling all of these supplements with the promises of everything that they're going to do for you, of course they look good. They spend this is their career making themselves look good. So they're, they don't have a 9-to-5 job or an all hours of the day job. No, their career is working out and making sure that they do all of the skin regimens and get all of the treatments and do all of the things. So of course they look good. Although what was that Brian? I can't remember his last name. I don't know if you remember that, the Brian guy, they mentioned it in the article, but also he's big online too. And he's always talking about all of these things that he does to preserve his youth and to age backwards or whatever.
He looks kind of like a robot, like an android kind of guy.
Like he just almost doesn't look human anymore. I'm like, and he's done some super bizarre stuff.
It's like the opposite kind of thing for the people who do body modification, right? It's like we've seen this in the culture with looks maxing. People are like taking hammers and they're doing I don't know what they call it, bone smashing, and they say that they're smashing their bones. They're using hammers to smash the bones in their face so that growth, that it will grow back and be stronger, under the same concept of tearing muscle fibers results in stronger muscles, but they're doing it to their bones. But there's, of course, obviously no evidence of that stuff works or that it's safe or effective. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's free country, but still, what are you doing?
Can you imagine gambling on breaking your bones and hoping that it heals back right?
No, I'm 45. I'm not 25 anymore. I'm not 20 years old. Some of these kids, man, I tell you, they're kind of stupid. But we're going to talk about that. I want to play the clip of the spring breakers. You probably saw that video that was going around online of the young spring break kids answering questions on Water's World. And everybody's making fun of them because they don't know what the hell an Ayatollah is, Camellia. You didn't see it?
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, I saw a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll play that clip later for you, and I want to get your reaction to it.
Okay.
Okay, so these people, they want to be healthy. They want to find the fountain of youth. I mean, you always blow the plot right at the beginning of the movie, Camellia, because you're too smart for your own good, but you're so socially awkward that you don't know we're supposed to build up to that. So now I have a whole segment that I have to figure out. Just kidding. The Journal talks about the money side of things, though, Camellia. So since we're already to the grift, these influencers are making fat stacks of cash selling this shit, aren't they?
Oh, 100%. It's their job. I mean, they are, this is the new TV advertising, except for it's on Instagram and it's on Facebook and, TikTok. And so, I would be curious for your viewers if they, how many, drop in the chat, how many supplements do you take every day? Because I don't know, if you're like me, I love the idea of it and I am terrible about doing it consistently. This is a personal flaw that I'm working on. Someday I will overcome, but I'm terrible about doing it consistently. But I have, several bottles of vitamins and supplements that I think are probably good for me, and they're not the really out there and outlandish ones. But one of the things we don't talk about with a lot of these things, and they tell you to take all these things, and then that article, how many was that one woman taking? It was 100 or so. And does your body absorb all that?
It does. And from what I have learned, I hear doctors from Doctor TikToks that come out that say it's expensive pee. So basically, you just pee it all out.
Yes. Like your body can, even of the nutrients that are good for you, your body can only absorb so much before the rest of it just goes on out.
This is how you know I'm not a grifter, because like when you see the profit margins on this stuff, Camellia, people approach me and they're like, hey, let's sell supplements. And I'm like, absolutely not. I refuse to do that to people. Here's the thing. It's money on the table because it's so easy. It's unfortunate because people are just, you know what? It's easier to fool people than to convince them they've been fooled, Camellia, on this stuff. It's easy. And here's the thing. It's like the prisoner in Plato's cave example. If you try and tell them the truth, they will kill you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I think too, you know, like the answer is always somewhere in the middle, right? The answer is not don't take anything ever, right? Because it's all a scam. Well, it's not all a scam. There are things that are good for you and it can be a good supplement to your diet. But the grifters who are making bank on telling you you need to take, you know, 24 different things, or you have to just cover all your bases with all of the different grifters, right? Something's going to work, right?
So there's a male angle in this story too, which I love to discuss with one of my best friends in the world, Camellia Peterson. One 28-year-old man told the Wall Street Journal he's not low testosterone, but he's trying to hedge against decline because of what he hears on some of these podcasts. So body anxiety, if anyone.
I mean, yeah, and it makes you wonder what they're teaching in science in school these days.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
I wonder that too, because they should know better. They should know better.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not like you can bank testosterone. It's like, it doesn't work like that.
I don't know about other men, but I've evolved and I have a third nut and it is a testosterone. It is all pure testosterone, baby. Just kidding. So I did the same thing. I had my testosterone tested, you know, I'm 45 years old and I went and got it checked and it was healthy. And I was kind of like, because I wondered if, like, you know, I at 45 years old, if I would have lost testosterone by now. Most of the time they do at this age. And, you know, I've got maybe like 5 to 7 years left. I'm going to go through male menopause, Camellia.
Well, you will see a whole other range of ads then because, you know, for men and women alike, you think that the supplement industry is bad, like just wait. You're going to hear all about TRT and you're going to hear like, you know, eventually Steffi will hear all about all the things you can do for menopause and perimenopause and everything in between.
Hey, listen, I'm not for supplements, but I like me some juice. I'm okay with the idea of being 50, you know, looking like Robert F. How old is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? The man looks like a stud, right? So, you know, he's juicing. So, again, I'm a libertarian. I believe you ought to be able to, you know, do stuff like this with your body. And I'm not, you know, if people take supplements, you know, some of them are good for you. Maybe a little fish oil here and there. Good for you. It's a free country. That's right. Well, here's the deal. We're not like TRT or estrogen shaming here. No. Like there are very healthy ways to supplement when you start losing those things in your body because goodness gracious, we can get really screwed up when our hormones get off. Just ask women. Right. Yeah. Well, you know, it's just that it's probably not going to be the stuff that you buy at the gas station. It's probably not going to be the stuff that you buy at the dirty gas station truck stop that's going to, you know, improve your health or, you know, the horny goat weed or something. I know people who swear by the horny goat weed though at the truck stop. I don't even know what You've never bought a truck stop enhancement kit? Nope. Neither have I. This is the Wake Up America Show. I'm Austin Petersen. That's Camellia Peterson, but we're not related. We are not related. She's an S-O-N. I'm an S-E-N, and that means something. What does it mean, Camellia? Well, you know, I don't know. Do you like the Swedes or the Danes? The Swedes or the Danes. Most people can't even tell the difference. They don't care, Camellia. I'm going to share my sound with you so you can hear the funny video. These are the kids on spring break. It's Waters World, man on the street. They're out on spring break. They're going and asking all these young 20-something kids questions on the beach. And here's what they have to say, Camellia.
What issue facing America is the most important to you?
What bikini I'm going to wear next? Obesity is terrible.
Ice. Not personally. I'm legal.
Getting a tan on the beach. That's the most important thing in my life right now.
I'm thinking about Starbucks, to be honest. I'm thinking about Starbucks. What I'm gonna get for today?
The elevators don't work. You got 43 floors. The elevators don't work.
I could take this little glass of water, drop it in the magnets. That's the end of the elevator.
What have you heard that Donald Trump has been doing recently?
Gulf of America. That's the last thing I kept up with.
We're going to war with Iraq. That's been crazy.
What do you do in Colombia? You got Maduro out?
You must be happy.
I'm very happy.
The Ayatollah's dead.
What? Who? What? What is that?
Who the is Ayatollah?
I've never heard that word in my life.
Lewis, what's Ayatollah?
I haven't heard. I found out about Chuck Norris yesterday. That was more devastating to me.
He was the supreme leader of Iran.
He's dead?
We killed him.
You did? You killed him?
Camellia.
Okay.
There's a lot to unpack there.
But the Chuck Norris one, like, that's a fair point.
Yeah, they should be more concerned with Chuck Norris. Walker, Texas Ranger, karate star. But what's your reaction to that video, Camellia?
I think there's probably a positive correlation between kids that go on spring break in those kind of places and the level of cultural and world politics awareness and education that they
Camellia,
have.
just say that you don't think these people should vote, that they shouldn't be. Just say you want to raise the voting age.
That is no guarantee. Raising the voting age is no guarantee.
Well, here's a take that I heard on this video that actually made sense to me. It made me feel good, get back to my liberty roots. But it's like these kids, life is going to hit these kids like a truck. They've got plenty of time to suffer, to know what the Ayatollah is and why it's important to be aware of what happened with Maduro in Colombia. And, they use the word Ayatollah. That one young girl says, I've never heard that word in my life. Just honest,
Sure.
not like a lot of people in Washington, D.C. or in politics who they lie. When you ask them if they've ever heard of someone or this or that, everybody lies and says, oh, yes, I've heard of it, because nobody wants to look stupid. They're having fun. They get to enjoy the springtime of their life. In some ways, it's kind of a celebration of freedom. They don't have to worry about that shit. But one day they'll have bills and responsibilities, and they'll suffer.
I mean, and all jokes aside, like, I think that's, you also can't expect, especially young people, but you can't expect everybody to know everything about world politics, because there's just no way a normal person that's not in it all the time can keep up with everything. There's like, the information age we live in is like information overload. Yes. And so that's like, it doesn't surprise me at all. Like, I mean, Felicity probably, she might know what the Ayatollah is, but I mean, like, she's probably a little different than most kids her age too, and her friends are nerds.
Yeah, she's got a lot on her mind though.
Yeah. So I think that it's fine. They probably, like, they didn't talk a lot about local, the United States level stuff. So, like, I would want them to know more about our stuff. Yes. But
and therein lies the rub. Probably what we need is just better education on the American founding. I mean, it's the 250th anniversary of the United States. I hope to God people are like engaging. And we see this, at least anecdotally, Camellia. I'll tell you, I go to my little Sons of the American Revolution meetings once a month at the Hy-Vee in the mornings, and the amount of applications that they've had for people who have recently discovered their patriot ancestors has taken a steady tick up. So our historian, guy by the name of Cliff Olson, really cool guy, he has been processing all these applications. I got my application in, and all of the history of the ancestry, the genealogy work that they did to trace it back to Isaac Wade. I'm Austin Wade. And it was an unbelievable, beautiful tapestry of the life that they lived, because my other grandpappy was a rebel. He fought for the Confederacy, and it came from that line. And I don't know. There's a lot of talk about things like heritage Americans. Camellia, I've been talking a little bit this morning about like kind of MAGA and what it means, but there's certainly a cultural aspect to MAGA that I feel like maybe libertarians, because we're so atomistic and individualistic, and that's why there's this kind of violent response to this libertarian nationalist idea that I've been expressing. But there is something about the culture and the heritage, right? The genealogy matters. The ancestors matter, right? I'm not saying that, like, you know, nobody should ever be allowed to immigrate to the United States. You know, I'm so, you know, closed borders, but just it matters. The genealogy matters, doesn't it?
Well, I think more than that, like it matters that we are, like, I know people don't like to believe this. We are a creedal nation. Like we are founded on, you know, some fundamental ideas that have shaped the identity of our country. And I think that's why we see so much chaos and such division now. Like there's always, like, we cannot pretend that there has never been disagreement and division in the country between ideas, because there has been since our forming. So, you know, I think that, but that ability to debate those ideas and push and pull, like, essentially, I mean, eventually it always, historically anyway, though, came down to those fundamental principles that we were founded on, and those have always prevailed. I think what's disturbing now for a lot of people is that those ideas don't seem to always be prevailing anymore, and the fight is harder to hang on to those. You know, and I think that there is, you know, within the MAGA movement, and I don't necessarily consider myself MAGA, and that's primarily because I view it as really being solely based on a kind of an unquestioning dedication to one person. And that's the part that I don't like. But I do think there are people in that movement who are, they're okay with questioning, you know, they don't, not everything is not, you know, the word of God from the president, you know what I'm saying? So like, I think there's some nuance in there too.
Well, I think a part of the problem is that people don't understand Trump because I think they want to overcomplicate him in some ways, or they either overcomplicate him or they oversimplify him. And that's what you see with Trump derangement syndrome. And many of the people, Camellia, who you and I deal with or have to work with, in many ways, they suffer from this, a form of Trump derangement syndrome. Sure. That is, it's just so obnoxious because it's sort of like it betrays their lack of intelligence. You'll find the most high-minded elites, people who are worldly and have some street smarts, and they're so triggered by him that all of that just seems to go out the window, and they almost descend into like a caveman mind of their reaction to him and what he represents. It's just, I don't know. How do you deal with it?
I mean, I you know, there are two derangement syndrome. Well, there's two opposite ends here. There's Trump derangement syndrome, and then there's Trump worship syndrome. And the same people are in the middle, as always. But you can't, I mean, like, at either end of that spectrum, you are not going to be able to reason with those people because they, like, their minds are made up and they're not persuadable. And, you know, one of the hardest lessons, I think, that I've had to learn, and this didn't just start in politics, but you have to like keep relearning and relearning and relearning it, is that you cannot persuade the unpersuadable, and you can expend a whole lot of energy, right, trying to reason and find common ground, but at some point you have to accept that you're not going to change that person's mind. And so there are people at both ends of the spectrum. But I think, you know, it's the people in the middle who really make up the sane, hopefully, majority that, you know, they're not willing to say that like everything someone does is perfect and can't be questioned, but they're also not saying the other extreme that, you know, nothing is good. It's all terrible.
Camellia, we've known each other for quite a long time. You've probably attract at least a little bit of the conversation that I've had with some of the other Ron Paul libertarian type people on foreign policy and some immigration things, but specifically, you know, war, anti-war issues. I think you've probably seen me change my mind on foreign policy in the past like 4 to 5 years. And it's been very distressing for a lot of people who have known me for a long time to see me sort of, they see it as turning against them, betraying them. Yeah. But I see it as sort of staying true to myself, and I don't necessarily owe other people like my opinions. I don't have to like hold in a set of opinion because other people want me to. But I think I've sort of had the scales fall from my eyes in certain ways. And I think Trump has actually kind of, you know, I have learned some things from him, some very important lessons from him. And so it's kind of like now, you know, I'm getting the neocon pejorative tossed at me. You're a neoconservative now, which I don't think anybody who uses that term even knows what it means. Very, very few people.
Probably not anymore. It's like most terms, they get overused, and it's anybody I don't like.
Yes. So anyways, I'm kind of moving on in a way. I'm just building something new. And I still think liberty is the central thesis to America, but that America exists. America is a nation, and we should, have a government, and that government should, that government governs best, governs least. And yet I'm not a Rothbardian anarchist who thinks America is the greatest terrorist. Is that so wrong, Camellia? Is that neocon?
I mean, I don't think so. I don't think that you're Lindsey Graham out clamoring for, more war. But there is a difference there. And I think that, the whole pacifist idea, and that you can't defend yourself, and then, having to wrestle with the question of preemptive, strikes and things like that. Like, here's the deal. Like, I think we should always question that. Like, our trouble will come when we stop questioning that, because then we really are neocons, and like, war is the way of life, and war is a racket. There are a lot of people, a lot of, companies and people who make a lot of money off of people dying in wars. And so, I think that we have to have that pragmatic take in between, where you proceed cautiously, but also sometimes, you do the best you can with what the context is.
It is. And it's unfortunate that history is so inconsistent, because yes, there are patterns, and yes, history does repeat, but sometimes the way that it repeats is a completely brand new problem to have. So for example, flight, engineering, before property rights existed, before the invention of flight. So you used to own all of the air above your house. Now we can send steel machines 30,000 feet. Some can fly as low as, a few thousand feet above your house. Drones, new problems that the code just needs to address. And whether, the question is are we at the table for the negotiations for what those property rights will look like when the technology changes the fundamental underpinning of the question itself? You broadly could not even conceptualize of the dangers to property rights that could exist from a boom box and a loudspeaker, before all of a sudden we had to say, okay, the decibel level has got to be within a certain load for you to be able to operate that near my house, you know what I mean? Until you're infringing on property rights. These are questions as to which could have never been considered at the foundation of 250 years ago.
Sure. I mean, and they don't. I mean, we've come a long ways, I would say, in terms of standards of cleanliness, and I think we've learned and grown as a nation. Like, we learn and grow as individuals, but we have collectively had to learn and grow and adjust to changing technologies. I mean, when you think about, some of recycling, right, is a scam, right? It's like there's always that element to people that will take advantage of things like that. However, if you think about, how people used to just throw trash out the window when they're driving down the road, like it was no big deal. And we don't do that anymore. So we do, like, as things change, we have to adapt and, apply our underlying principles to those situations. And sometimes it gets harder. Like, you have to define, like, what does my personal space, my personal property rights, all this, how you define that when somebody can fly a drone over your house and, it records you. Yeah,
I know. It's the problem, of course, is that, like, because our nation is sort of balkanizing in some ways, that we don't have that common culture, that shared language to some extent. I used to not feel strongly about English being named the language of the United States officially. I never had like a really strong, maybe when I was a young man, first read about it, I did, but I now am back to where I was when I read about it in like 6th grade. I now think that English should be the official language of the United States.
Sure. And I think that's fine. It's a cohesiveness that ties, us together. Here's the thing that I think that we've lost the plot on, and it's unfortunate, because I think the beauty of immigration, when people were coming into the United States, they were coming in to make it their home, and they wanted to, like, they were wanting to retain their culture that they came from, because that's a very natural human thing to do. But they also wanted to embrace the country that they were living in and learn the language and adapt to things. But I used to love, going to Chicago. My ex-husband's grandmother lived there and she was German. And so it was just really neat when you go to cities like that and they have these different, sections of the city that are just primarily one, people who came from one country or another. And there was something really special and really enjoyable about having those little cultural differences, but all still within the American idea and dream.
It's the American dream. That was something that you would hear a lot when I was a kid in the 80s. People talked about the American dream. People knew what the American dream was. There wasn't this conflict about the American dream. Even though the 60s and the 70s had happened and all these anti-war protests and the left had sort of coagulated into what it had become, it went from like a JFK pro-America, 1960s, early 1960s to LBJ, anti-America. Everybody since then hates America and is on, the thing that I see is the sort of civilizational struggle that the United States is engaged in, which is like, we have this individual fight for liberty, right? Like we're trying to overturn the income tax here in the state of Missouri. We're working on local politics. Great. We want this to happen. But if you do think, bigger picture, if you are thinking from a more, civilizational view of things, then I'm not saying that war is good, but I am saying from a really ultimately pragmatic view, Camellia, I think I am saying that war is kind of the state of nature, that like liberty is not the state of nature, that liberty is a creation that comes out, that we as in building civilization, we are collectively building liberty, because if you were on a desert island alone, there's no need for civilization. You are at perfect liberty. But you're completely, you don't need laws. You don't need a government. You just do whatever it is that you want. There's no unspoken agreements, right? But the minute you add two, a negotiation has to take place. And so therefore, writ large, what we're talking about here is the bigger picture questions. I think MAGA sees this. They see this. The pragmatic MAGA Republicans who are big pro-Trumpers, I think Eric Schmidt sees this. I think, Josh Hawley probably sees this in a sense. They see what the president is doing, and they look at this from a civilizational perspective. I don't agree with tariffs. We don't agree with the means, but renegotiation of bad deals, international trade agreements that do not benefit the United States, free riders, Canada, getting wonked out for the last year, not electing a conservative majority, elbows up, they think that hockey is the gold medal at hockey is going to be their birthright. And then we punch them in the face and take it from them. Are we supposed to apologize for that? Or should America be proud to be great and good and strong? Or are we the greatest terrorist on earth?
No, I think that we are still the greatest beacon for freedom. And here's the thing. I think this is what really kind of encapsulates, I think, where we are as a culture, as a nation, as a civilization. It comes down to this constant push and pull between individual responsibility and liberty and authoritarianism and government. And we have given over so much of our responsibilities for our communities to the government that the expectation now is that it's the government's job to take care of all of these things, and it's not ours. And that really affects us on a fundamental level in how we interact with people in our community and the types of policies and things that we make.
You are absolutely right, Camellia. You are 100% correct. Now, let me build on that. Do we have a few more minutes, or have you got to go? Okay. So your point is beautifully and wonderfully and fearfully made. But how we defend, the borders question, how we defend these liberties, right? These are functional, these are technical questions. These are legitimate security questions. And we as libertarians, we like to talk about liberty, but we very rarely talk about the responsibilities, which you've so beautifully articulated. when I speak to people in other countries and where they don't really have a lot of liberty, a lot of freedom, Camellia, they don't build civic institutions. They don't, what you're discussing right there, which is like what leads to the welfarism, the parasitism here in the United States, what you've identified there, right? People who aren't taking up the torch and carrying it in their communities. They're not volunteering. They're not, they're staying at home. They're not, going out. They're not interacting in the community, not socializing. They're not going to church, whatever it is. People in other countries, especially the poverty-stricken countries, they think like what you said. They think the government should come and do all this thing. That is their mindset. And I've been speaking to so many people from Argentina who are big Javier Milei fans, and they say the big uphill climb is that the culture here is that we don't do fundraisers, we don't do bake sales, we don't do car washes, we don't, for the women's bake club or anything like that. If you want to have a soccer club or whatever, it's going to be, the government's going to set it up. K through 12, education, college, everything. It's the government. And Javier Milei is starting to overthrow that. He's starting to turn that aside. But how do you solve the cultural problem, Camellia? It's one thing to fight for laws in the Capitol. How do you win the hearts and minds and get people off their asses and into the communities and working and volunteering and donating and doing the things that actually build civilized society? How do you do that?
Sure. I mean, I think that is where it really comes down to the granular level, where it comes down to the individual and every single person, you, me, like anybody watching this or listening, like it's our individual responsibility to go out there and make those connections in the community and to put that effort forth in ourselves. Because if we all did that more, like the impact, on a the butterfly effect level, like I think would be enormous. There are people, that's not to say that people aren't doing that. There are people who are out there and doing that. And I'll tell you, like when it comes to, these ideas of how we should take care of our communities and our responsibility in that, there's a charity in our local community here in the Joplin area called Watered Gardens, and we've done a lot of volunteer work there. But the one thing I've always loved about them is the man who founded them, and he's also founded like a way to do charity and teach others too. As general, he doesn't want government money to do this. He says this is our responsibility. We need to find a way to provide for our communities without the government help. We need more people like that. Anything we can do to elevate that kind of attitude, like it's just going to take each one of us, like at the local level, to spread that.
Camellia Peterson, you are a joy and a delight. And we think so much alike. And that is why you join me every Tuesday and Thursday on this show at 8 a.m. Central. You donate. You're part of the AI course. Are you insane? Why are you supporting the For Liberty Network so much, Camellia? For 3 years we've been building this network. We went from one show, and it was just you and me in a dirty back, bar. Now five shows, Cafecito Libre. Look at us. Look where we've come. Thank you so much. Everybody say thank you, Camellia.
The gift from the speakeasy in which you were once again trying to embarrass me has made a reappearance yesterday.
Oh, yes. That's great. Yes. Tell John Convis we said hello. We appreciate his support. He supported us from the beginning, too. And look what we have built. Camellia, is there anything that you want to share with our audience or plug? You've been so generous with your time. Will you please ask for anything that you want, and they shall give it?
I would just like for each of you to make the effort that we just talked about. Like, it's really what it takes. And for our Jeff City friends who are actually in Jeff City, come out Monday night, have dinner with us, learn about our local effort to get rid of income tax in Missouri.
Hey, hold on one second. Give us the details, event details.
Sure.
Where's it at?
Yes, so it's at Madison. Did I say Madison's? Madison's. Yes, it's at Madison's Cafe in downtown Jefferson City, and so the doors will open at 5:30. There'll be dinner and things. We'll actually start the panel. There'll be someone from the Show Me Institute. We'll talk about the policy things. The bill sponsors, so Senator Curtis Trent, Representative Bishop Davidson will be there, and they will talk about all of these things, the plans, and there will be time to ask your questions. My favorite part of what we do is people come and ask your questions and ask the hard ones, because that's how we go forward and get it done.
Camellia, you rock. Thank you so much. No Wake Up America show next Wednesday because time to testify the demons. Income tax hits the Senate. All right. Have a good one, CJ.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye. That's Camellia Peterson. We are of no relation, but she is a good friend of mine. Jenny. We was like peas and carrots. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. I mean, sometimes I can be kind of a goofball, but it's fun. It's the morning. Do you really want me to be all like Ted Koppel all the time? There's a chicken sitting on my desk. There's a pineapple over my shoulder. You can pretty much bet that we're the guys who know how to have a good time. Victor Z321, bringing in the war tracker. What's happening, sir? Welcome to the Wake Up America show. It's good to see you again. Decision Points. St. Selma says schools would be less expensive if they spent less money on administrators and more on teachers. Can I get an amen? St. Selma, we're on the same team. You and me, the same. Thank you so much for everybody who is supporting the Wake Up America show today. I see we haven't unlocked the bonus content yet, but I'm sure Segman Tex is definitely going to do it. Before we move on to our final segment of the day, the Grift Industrial Complex on the Democratic side of things, head on over to forlibertyshop.com. Type steel sign into the search bar. Type in steel sign and check out our beautiful collection of steel signs. The 1776 steel sign is a nice one. I like the USA flag. I might get it in gold, but then the custom black is just so good. I want to put this in my living room. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't she nice? Isn't she lovely? Oh my God, I can get it in copper, silver, or white. A beautiful steel sign with the USA flag in there. You can also get a custom sign, put your name on it, put your son's name on it, your daughter's name on it. The Celtic Dragon monogram is actually a pretty good seller at forlibertyshop.com. This sign says, "Let's go, Brandon." I guess now that Joe Biden's done, you can actually have it say whatever you like there. American Strong. Just check before you check out that you're getting a custom sign, that you customize it. So some of these steel signs at forlibertyshop.com, some of them will allow you to customize and some of them will not. So just check when you go to the item and you browse the steel signs at forlibertyshop.com. Sup bro is probably not the one that you want, but if you don't even want to worry about it, get the bald eagle head steel sign, a beautiful steel sign at forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. You're going to love it. And yeah, we love ours. Okay. Let's go to Sacramento, the federal courthouse, November 12th, 2025. The kind of building where the walls look like they were designed to drain joy out of a person before the judge even gets a chance. Dana Williamson walks in as something much bigger than a random defendant. She was Gavin Newsom's chief of staff. Before that, she moved through California's upper Democratic ranks under Gray Davis and Jerry Brown. She ran Xavier Becerra's 2018 campaign. So this is not a nobody with a clipboard and a cause. This is the kind of person who usually knows where the doors are, who to call, and which fundraiser has the good Chardonnay. Then the federal indictment arrives and the whole thing goes sideways. The AP reported Williamson was charged in a 23-count case that included allegations she helped divert $225,000 from a dormant Becerra campaign account, filed false tax returns, and made false statements to investigators. AP also reported that neither Newsom nor Becerra was accused of wrongdoing. Cal Matters, reporting from the indictment, said Williamson was accused of claiming more than $1.7 million in fraudulent business expenses, including a $15,000 Chanel bag, private jet travel, and a nearly $170,000 birthday trip to Mexico. Wow. That is quite a trip. Nothing says public service quite like treating the tax code as a personal vending machine. It's an elite California political story, which means it comes with all the campaigns, expenses, power access, and enough paperwork to make a normal human being want to walk into the ocean. The AP also reported the investigation had been underway for years and that Williamson disclosed it to Newsom's office in late 2024, after which he was put on leave. People spend all day listening to politicians talk about justice and compassion, equity, democracy, community, putting in the work. Then somebody looks under the hood of the work, and lo and behold, the revolution has a receipt folder, a luxury budget, and a federal case number. So this morning, we'll end with a little tour of the left-wing grift museum. Not cartoons, not vague social media rumors. Real names, real dates, real charges, real guilty pleas, real sentences. Dana Williamson in Sacramento, Monica Cannon Grant in Boston, Tashella Dickerson in Oklahoma City, Alexander Sufer in Los Angeles, Amy Bach in Minnesota. 5 reminders that moral theater gets a lot less majestic once the accounting starts. Are we ready? Glamorous, fancy. Remember, this is 4 months ago.
Chief of Staff to the California governor, top Democrat Gavin Newsom, is set to appear in court tonight after being indicted on public corruption charges.
Oops.
According to prosecutors, Dana Williamson diverted something like $225,000 from an inactive political campaign to an associate's personal use from 2022 to 2024, which is right around the same time she worked for the governor. Prosecutors also say she claimed more than $1 million in business deductions for things like traveling on private planes, luxury hotel stays, home furnishings, designer handbags, and more. A spokesperson for Governor Newsom tells us in
Yes, confirmation. When the NBC has to report it, you know it's bad. So, and it didn't end, excuse me, it didn't end with Williamson. Forgive me, guys, got a little cold.
Well, a guilty plea by one of the 3 alleged co-conspirators in a bombshell state capitol investigation. Today, Javier Becerra's former chief of staff pleaded guilty to bank and wire fraud. Right now, we want to go to CBS 13's Steve Large live at the federal courthouse. Steve, what's next for this?
Yeah, Sean McCluskey entering that guilty plea in court today. Part of a plea agreement that he reached with prosecutors. He's been cooperating and negotiating with them. We have video showing you as McCluskey left the courtroom today and ended up in a vehicle.
Sean McCluskey, Xavier Becerra's former chief of staff, pleaded guilty in November 2025 to conspiracy to commit bank and wire fraud. A lot of money. 1 month later, AP reported that Sacramento lobbyist Greg Campbell pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit bank and wire fraud and conspiracy to defraud the United States. Prosecutors said Campbell used his company as a conduit to obscure payments to McCluskey's wife. Look at the cast list for a second and enjoy the sheer density of this thing. Former Newsom chief of staff, former Becerra chief of staff, Sacramento lobbyist, dormant campaign account, false contracts, tax fraud. If you wrote this as a political satire, a producer would tell you to tone it down because nobody would believe Sacramento people were that, I don't know, Sacramento. AP reported Williamson had served in senior roles under Gray Davis, Jerry Brown, and Gavin Newsom, all the governors. McCluskey had been a top Becerra aide. So these were insiders, not tourists. No extra sauce needed here. The facts are ugly enough. Williamson disclosed the federal investigation to Newsom's office in late 2024 and was put on leave, though that leave was not publicly disclosed at the time. The AP pretty much said Newsom and Becerra were not accused of wrongdoing. So you don't have to invent a conspiracy. The actual file is pretty damaging. When the inner circle starts collecting guilty pleas and indictments, the word ecosystem stops sounding so impressive. It's more like, I don't know him. I don't know you. Who are you? Who's that? Never met him, never saw him. Officer, I've never seen this woman before in my life. Now let's head to Boston. Oh, Boston. Monica Cannon in Boston. This is the story I was reading yesterday. It was so neat. It feels like it's custom built to make small donors throw their phone into a river. The DOJ said that Cannon Grant, formerly of the nonprofit Violence in Boston, was sentenced on January 29, 2026 to 4 years of probation, 6 months of home detention, and 100 hours of community service after pleading guilty to fraud and tax charges. The DOJ said she was ordered to pay $106,000 in restitution. Ouch. Then a federal judge ordered forfeiture of $224,000, and the Boston Globe reported the total included about $181,000 in diverted donations, more than $33,000 in fraudulent pandemic unemployment benefits, and about $12,000 in rental assistance benefits. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. The reason that this lands so hard is that the big fight is over. So this is not an accusation floating around waiting for a trial date. The DOJ says she pleaded guilty in September of 2025. The government said the case involved using donor money for personal expenses, lying to obtain subsidized housing benefits, and defrauding COVID relief programs, of course. A lot of people donated to causes in those years because they thought they were helping to fix something. Then along comes a case like this, and suddenly the nonprofit world looks less like a movement and more like a very emotional Amex statement. And the symbolism of it is really nasty. Cannon Grant was not some obscure internet crank. She had been celebrated publicly. She was Bostonian of the Year before this case unraveled. The American left has a talent for elevating people into moral mascots at the exact moment nobody wants to ask boring questions about money. Then the boring questions arrive with a seal on the front. Let's go to Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City brings in Tashella Sherry Amore Dickerson, Executive Director of Black Lives Matter, OKC. The DOJ said a federal grand jury returned a 25-count indictment on December 3rd, 2025, charging Dickerson with 20 counts of wire fraud and 5 counts of money laundering. The AP reported prosecutors alleged the group raised more than $5.6 million since 2020 alone, and that Dickerson embezzled at least $3.5 million, 3.15, steering money into her own personal accounts, travel, retail spending, real estate. The DOJ laid out the kind of details that a jury would definitely wake up and sit straight up for. The indictment alleges spending trips on Jamaica, the Dominican Republic. She was living large, man. More than $50,000 in food and grocery deliveries, a vehicle, 6 Oklahoma City properties deeded to Dickerson or a company she controlled. Black Lives Matter indeed. The DOJ also said there were submit and fake reports. They were sent to the Alliance for Global Justice, claiming the funds were used only for tax-exempt purposes. Even so, social justice group allegedly turns into real estate hobby with DoorDash is a hell of a headline. People heard Black Lives Matter, and they thought protests, donations, bail funds, moral urgency. Renee Good. Prosecutors looked at the books and said, well, they saw something else. AP reported the alleged misuse included international travel, groceries, personal property. The whole thing has the distinct aroma of an era when passion moved money very fast and oversight moved like a turtle on melatonin. It's a lot of melanin. The melanin is strong. Los Angeles, of course, could not let everyone else have all the fun. The AP reported Alexander Sufer, CEO of the homeless services nonprofit Abundant Blessings. They are very abundant blessings. Can you bless me with something?
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Please.
Can you suck it?
Don't give your money to these nonprofit groups. Give it to the For Liberty Network. Listen to these people making bank. Los Angeles, the nonprofit Abundant Blessings under Alexander Sufer, charged in January 2026, a couple months ago, just recently, after prosecutors alleged to use public money meant for homeless housing and services to fund a luxury lifestyle. Ain't nobody going homeless in this house. The AP said that the allegations included a $7 million home, a vacation house
A charity
in
director
Greece.
from Westwood has been arrested after federal authorities say he stole millions slated to help the homeless.
They say he lined his pockets instead. KTLA 5's Corrine Winter live in the newsroom with the details. Corrine?
Well, Sam and Glenn, the Homelessness Fraud and Corruption Task Force announcing this huge arrest today. Officials say that the executive director at the center of this case misused taxpayer funds intended to help some of LA's most needy individuals. U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley alleges Sufer gave them this microwavable ramen.
This is what he was providing. Ramen noodles and a microwave. And he was pocketing the rest of the money. The money was not intended for ramen noodles to be microwaved.
Accused of living the high life to the tune of $23 million instead of using public and taxpayer funds to help the homeless. That's according to federal and local officials.
That's your money. That is your money. The AP said that the allegations included a $7 million home, $7 million homeless for the homeless, a vacation house in Greece, and he had a $125,000 Range Rover. The Los Angeles County District's Attorney's Office said that Sufer was charged with defrauding the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority of more than $5 million. $5 million. That is so much stinking money. $2 million of it allegedly going toward his own properties or being accounted for through fraudulent invoices between 2022, and 2024. The DOJ said the federal case involved millions designated to combat homelessness. AP also reported prosecutors said Sufer falsified invoices to claim he was serving fresh meals and renting out rooms while homeless people were allegedly being fed canned beans and, of course, those bulk packs of microwave ramen. I like ramen. So Los Angeles has turned homelessness, of course, into an industry. There's a whole bureaucracy set to for this. It's a moral status symbol for them. And of course, now it's an alleged real estate accessory line. When the city starts throwing around 9 figures in the name of compassion, somebody ought to check whether the compassion has leather seats. And there's a reason that this fits so cleanly into the larger story about Los Angeles. The AP reported also that the city and county officials moved to take greater control of homeless spending after audits had already found the system had been reckless and opaque. So Sufer's not a wild personal story. He's the kind of case that makes you wonder whether throw money at it has been a moral slogan masquerading as a management plan. So Minnesota, of course, Minnesota always, why Minnesota? Why is it always Minnesota? Minnesota supplies the grand finale in Amy Bach and Feeding Our Future. DOJ said a federal jury found Bach guilty in March 2025 in what prosecutors described as a massive fraud scheme that falsely claimed 91 million meals and fraudulently received nearly $250 million in federal funds through a child nutrition program during the pandemic. Bach and co-defendant Salim said they were convicted after prosecutors said the money did not go to feed kids, but of course was used to fund their lavish lifestyles. Bach was alleged to have personally pocketed nearly $2 million, while a later forfeiture order put the number to be surrendered at about $5.2 million. So Feeding Our Future sounds like the title of a telethon hosted by angels. And then you get the DOJ version, and then it sounds like Ocean's 11 with lunch forms. So the heist of the century. Prosecutors said the scheme exploited a federal program meant to feed children during COVID. The American genius for taking a sentiment nobody can argue with and turn it into a cash extraction model really never quits. The phrase will change, the cause will change, the PowerPoint will get updated. The hungry kid, though, the homeless man, the donor, the taxpayer, person who thought the money was going where it was promised, they keep ending up as the suckers in the third act. So there it is. Daniel Williamson, Monica Cannon Grant, Tashella Dickerson, Alexander Sufer, Amy Bach, different states, different causes, different accents, same basic magic trick. Take a morally loaded issue, add urgency, add money. A public's too nervous to ask questions because you're, grandma killers, the equivalent of. So, not every nonprofit is a hustle, obviously. Not every person on the left might be a grifter. But they're definitely wrong about the issues. But the record is plain enough to end the show on this one happy little lesson. When somebody tells you their virtue is too important for oversight, put one hand on your wallet and the other on the audit. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show. Thank you guys for being part of the community. Thank you for all you do for freedom. B.H. Norris, Will Run Riot. Our friends Drew Van Ruckle, Decision Points. BB for Liberty, I see you there. Hanging out in the chat. Thank you to everybody. St. Selma, Relaxium McGroin. Appreciate all you do for us. As you exit through the Grift Shop. Check our 250th anniversary collection. Stock up today on your 250th anniversary United States. Celebrate 1776. 250 years of American greatness at forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. And we'll see you guys right back again here tomorrow on the Wake Up America show and the 4 Liberty Network.